Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got a recap of All-Star Weekend, politics and sneakers, Charlie Woods not channeling his pops, the week's hottest sneaker drop, and of course, a hard pass. All right, let's start with some hot takes. NBA All-Star Weekend went down this past week, and I guess people aren't happy, so we'll talk about that later in the show, but let's do a sneaker-centric recap first. Shout out to Devin Booker for hiding signed pairs of his Nike Book 1 throughout Indianapolis. Great move. It gave us memories of Salehi Bembury and DJ Clark Kent hiding their sneakers in random spots for followers to discover. But Booker may have outdone everybody when they hit a pair next to a Cheetos and Puma trailer. A+ sneaker troll there, Book. I respect that. As for the game itself, we've got a few sneaker highlights, which is a slight improvement from past years if we're being honest. We've got LeBron James in the Nike Diamond Turf Max 96 inspired pair of the Nike LeBron 21. Kevin Durant brought back the Nike KD4 Galaxy. Anthony Edwards in his shiny AE1 All-Stars. And Jaylen Brown channeling Kyrie Irving's energy and rocking the Anta Kai 1. I guess the superpower of the LeBron 21 is reminiscent of the LeBron 15 during the heyday of LeBron Watch. And now, I kind of want to see a LeBron 21 swingman that pays homage to Ken Griffey Jr. and the Air Griffey Max. Jaylen Brown was all over the place with his footwear throughout the weekend, which actually lines up with his hope to change the way we look at sneaker deals. He wore a shiny version of his collab with Bathing Ape, wore custom GT cuts that highlight Black Wall Street, and the aforementioned wearing of the Anta Kai 1 during the first half of the All-Star game, and then potentially teasing a future signature with a triple black sneaker prototype during the second half. Except for the silliness of protesting Nike while wearing Nikes, mission accomplished, Jaylen. Now comes the hard part of actually selling us on a signature shoe once they're out of the prototype phase, and I, for one, honestly can't wait. And finally, shout out to Shaquille O'Neal for his custom Shaq attacks by friend of the program, Shoe Surgeon, with a Pepsi can underneath them, reminding us of the time he had a working cell phone underneath his All-Star kicks years ago. I'll never forget the shock of future Reebok VP Allen Iverson's face when he realized that they worked. And yes, we will talk about the super premium made in Italy Jordan Wings collections in a future episode. We just need to see more of it really to give it a proper heart. No, it shouldn't get a hard pass just because they'll retail for around $1,000. We need to see it more before we can really say something about it beyond the fact that it's interesting that Jordan Brand is going down this path. Switching channels a little bit here. At the Fanatics party, CEO Michael Rubin is trying on a new role as sneaker influencer. When asked what his sneaker ick was by Nice Kicks, he said anything not by Travis Scott, which is, about 99.999% of sneakers ever made, but okay. But he was also spotted wearing a new colorway of the Jordan Jumpman Jack, which I gotta say, better than the debut colorway. The perks of being a billionaire CEO. You get to debut a new colorway of Travis Scott J's, aka non-icky sneakers. What more could you want when, you've got all the money in the world? Pause for effect. Anyway, meanwhile, over at SneakerCon in Philly, Trump happened. You just kind of have to laugh at the absurdity of it all. I already talked about it on the socials.
So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump understands culture like no politician I've ever.
Sure, I understand this correctly. He's saying that when a black person sees sneakers, they're like a dog that sees a squirrel. Squirrel! Sneakers!
But I will say, a hard pass to any political commentator who thinks this is going to unlock some sort of voter base for Trump. It's not. No one is going to change their mind or all of a sudden become a Trump voter just because he showed up at SneakerCon. You can't just grab him by the sneaker. Yes, everything is political at the end of the day, but sneakerheads want sneakers at SneakerCon, not political stunts, no matter the party. And really, the audience for these sneakers are Trump fans who got them and resellers who may or may not be Trump fans who tried to flip them to Trump fans who took an L on the pre-order for the gold pair. Anyway, according to Fat Joe, he owns the only Louis Vuitton Air Jordan sneaker in existence. I mean, I wouldn't say that, like, who didn't have a Jordan sneaker with questionable LV print during the 2000s? Oh, you mean an official? Like an official collateral? Oh, okay. Well, I take it back. Maybe Joey Crack can lay that claim pretty easily. Miami and Indiana's men's and women's basketball teams were given Fear of God athletic PEs with colored toe caps. Now, these aren't on the level of the intricate PEs that Jordan Brand schools receive just yet, but this is a start. Shout out to these kids' enthusiasm. With Fear of God essentials becoming as prevalent among the kids as Panda Dunks were in 2022, it's a good sign for the partnership. Now, if they can just have a more consistent and timely release schedule that I can keep track of, that would be greatly appreciated. And following in the steps of other lazy-ass Supreme Nike collabs like the Supreme Air Force One, here's the Supreme Nike Air Max DN with Supreme written across the upper. Wow. Across the upper, guys. Again. Anyway, moving on. Before we move on to the pick of the week, the next Kobe 8 Pro Tour to drop will be a white, black, and gold Mambasita colorway in honor of Gigi Bryant. Nothing really more to say about this other than when the inevitable happens and people aren't able to get them, the focus should be on Nike not doing their part and not Vanessa Bryant when she posts her latest PEs. It's just weird behavior, people. She's not a Nike exec, but she is the one who has to shoulder all the expectations, grievances, and projections we had towards her husband, who is no longer with us. Just stop. For pick of the week, it's the Nike KD 16 Slim Reaper. This is going to be on March 1st for $160. Wait a minute. Is this the first KD to be called Slim Reaper? Yeah. Okay, quick search on the Google seems to confirm that, but that's kind of crazy considering how long Kevin Durant has been using that nickname after going through a half dozen monikers during the early days of his career. Anyways, maybe nobody at Nike wanted to acknowledge the nickname for so long because it has a morbid tinge to it, but even this interpretation is about as tame as it gets with the black and red upper and shiny caging that might be representative of the scythe that the Grim Reaper uses. Charlie Woods was looking to qualify to play in his first PGA Tour event at age 15 this past week, which would beat his dad Tiger's age when he played on tour at age 16. But maybe more importantly, we are now in Sunday Red Watch every time Charlie tees it up. It did not look like he was wearing anything from his dad's recently revealed premium brand for the Thursday qualifier, but it'll be interesting to see if Charlie follows in the footsteps of Marcus Jordan and continues the family legacy, or if he branches out on his own. I'll leave the obvious jokes of other ways Charlie can be just like Marcus to you guys. Hey, we make a lot of jokes here about The Rock on Hard Pass, but we gotta admit, the $500 Versace shirt with the torn off sleeves? Perfect. The promo and the cheap clapbacks at the fans could use some work, but the presentation is there and we are all in on heel Rocky on the road to WrestleMania. The only thing that could ruin this now is if they double back on their swerve and it turns out Rocky and Cody were in cahoots all along just so Rocky can be cheered at the end of WrestleMania, which means that's absolutely where this is going, and Anthony Rendon needs to take lessons from Nikola Jokic. I know that's a strange transition, but just follow me here. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, south of Dodger Stadium, which is actually west of Pomona, said that baseball isn't the top priority in his life and that his family and faith come first. Yeah, that should probably be the take for most athletes. No matter how much we revere guys like Michael Jordan and the late Kobe Bryant, they would say that their family and whatever their faith is takes priority over the sport. The problem is that Rendon didn't learn the lesson that you need to deliver wins and rings, then you can say whatever you want. Like Joker, for instance. We know that hoops is a chore for him, but he has 2 MVPs and won Denver their first NBA championship last year. We play along with his love of horses and party life in his native Serbia because he's a badass on the court. Rendon would save himself a lot of headlines and angry tweets from sports bros who have never achieved anything beyond maybe making their high school team if he just gave a cliche, "I love the game and the fans who pay their hard-earned cash to watch us play a game. Let's go LA and Anaheim, but also Irvine and don't forget Alhambra." Yay, come on. All right, it's time for this week's Hard Pass. We'll take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like NBA All-Star Weekend and really Pro Bowl Weekend, MLB All-Star, NHL, MLS, WNBA, NWSL, Survivor Series, all of them. Well, except for the Ryder Cup, golf's de facto all-star game and the premier team event of the sport. It's one of the few times people can get wildly nationalistic and be absurdly petty about it without worrying about geopolitical ramifications. Every other all-star game, hard pass. They need to be revamped, reshaped, and dare I say, reimagined. But we're not just talking about switching up the boxes or changing nubuck to leather or leather to patent leather. We need to burn these down and start over, because no offense to those LED courts, nothing seems to be working. Well, there is one thing this past weekend, and we'll get into that later. So, for the purpose of this exercise, we're going to stick with the NBA because it just happened, and the Pro Bowl is so beyond recognition at this point that every time I saw a YouTube clip of a competition, I couldn't figure out if it was an NFL or a Dude Perfect or Mr. Beast production. There's been so much discourse about All-Star Weekend lacking the energy that it once had, and you know what? Normally, I'd be the person who wants to take a contrarian stance because it can feel like a bunch of olds complaining because they're olds, but in this case, it's not just the olds. Young people, like myself, just aren't feeling All-Star like they used to as well. Unfortunately, because things like TV rights and billion-dollar deals get in the way, Adam Silver is not going to give All-Star Weekend a few years off so they can tinker in the lab and hope people miss it. It has to be fixed on the fly, and here are a few things they can implement either right away or in the near future. First, keep it real and accept that most All-Star games are a waste of time with a few moments of transcendence. All-Star games, no matter the sport, is like trying to hit on the sneakers app. Most of the time, you're going to walk away from the experience annoyed and frustrated. But every once in a while, you're going to hit and the memory will last a lifetime. Like in 1992, when Magic Johnson showed the world that life can go on even after you have the HIV virus. Or in 2001, when Allen Iverson and Stephon Marbury led an amazing comeback in the fourth quarter. Or in 2003, when Mariah Carey gave us the performance of a lifetime that I feel like we should linger on that for a few more seconds before reminding you that also it was Michael Jordan's last All-Star game. Damn. Anyway, and there was 2020, which was a sad affair because it took place a few weeks after we lost Kobe, but also a powerful one because everybody tried and we got a memorable ending thanks to the switch to the ELAM format. This is not unique to NBA. All-Star games in all sports are like parties we don't really want to go to, but feel bad when we don't get an invite. The recognition is really what matters. So as a collective, we all need to lower our expectations for these things so that when the occasional real game does break out, it's a happy, fun time. Either that, or we devalue the NBA championships, reprioritize the regular season, and cancel ring culture that has poisoned sports conversations for so long that players miss games to load manage and take it easy during All-Star games so they can save themselves for the playoffs to win that ring that everybody covets so much and holds it against them when they don't. But no one wants to have that conversation. Anyways, stop letting the NFL eat your lunch. For the past 3 NBA All-Star weekends, they have taken place a week after the Super Bowl. So America goes from its biggest sporting event to its most throwaway. That's why the NFL smartly rescheduled the Pro Bowl to end between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl. Sure, the ratings still suck in comparison to a regular season game, but it's less of an afterthought than previous years. The NBA should push the All-Star game back to 2 weeks after the Super Bowl or squeeze it in between the championship games and go head-to-head with the Pro Bowl. Show some backbone, NBA. They already wreck you when Christmas is on the weekends and Mondays. If you lose the ratings war, well, big whoop. Everybody loses to the NFL. But if you win, now that's something to brag about. LA, Miami, New York, New Orleans, Chicago, Toronto, Paris, Tokyo. Shout out to Lupe Fiasco. If you know, you know. And look, I know the NBA wants to reward all of their teams with an All-Star game ever so often, as evidenced by the last 3 All-Star sites being Indiana, Utah, and Cleveland. But before the pandemic, we went Chicago, Charlotte, LA, New Orleans twice, Toronto, and Brooklyn. Yeah, remove Charlotte with Miami, add in an international city every 5 years, and that should be the rotation forever. All-Star hosts should be destinations for the players, their families, the fans, and the media. Notice how coverage of All-Star is a little happier when it's in New Orleans or LA? Apologies to teams with crappy weather in February, but it's not like Buffalo is getting a Super Bowl anytime soon. Another one? Combine All-Star Friday and Saturday. Ditch the celebrity game and the skills challenge so the league can consolidate the events of Friday and Saturday into one night. The Rising Stars mini tournament is a fun concept that's going to need a few more years of seasoning to get it right. And then you've got the 3-point contest, the dunk contest, and whatever gimmick event you want to throw in as a wild card on Saturday or even Sunday. I know logistically it might have been unfair to Steph considering how well Sabrina ended up performing if he had to double dip on Sunday, but If the Curry-Ionescu showdown was during halftime of the All-Star game, we probably could have shut things down and not played that abomination of a second half. And next, make the three-point contest the main event. Nobody wants to hear this because of our patron saints of dunk, Vince Carter, Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. But while the dunk contest is the more transcendent event, the three-point contest is on average more entertaining to watch. At the very least, the league should evaluate the rosters for both events every year and go with the one that has more star power. Like Steph Curry did the three-point contest 7 times. How the NBA lets G League dunkers headline Saturday over Steph? Well, that's just crazy to me. And look, no unserious people in the dunk contest. Save for the touching homage to his friend, the late Terrence Clark, the only thing Jaylen Brown proved during the dunk contest is that he's extremely online. The dunks were mid, the Kai Cenat integration was absurd, the half-ass attempt to mimic D Brown was even worse, and the left-handed dunk with Michael Jackson glove was an attempt to troll NBA Twitter, aka the vocal minority. He shouldn't be getting all of these props just because he's a star player who actually wanted to participate. The dunks themselves have to actually be good to get credit. Between Jaylen almost memeing himself to a win, Aaron Gordon being robbed twice, Dwayne Wade's judging a few years back allegedly scaring off John Morant, it's time for the dunk contest to step back and wait for its next Vince. This one's gonna be hot, but listen, don't play the All-Star game. I mean, screw it. Let's get petty, right? If the players don't care, the league shouldn't either. Next year, move All-Star Saturday to Sunday, make Kenny Smith versus Sabrina the main event. A lot of players use All-Star to raise their profile, aka their brand. Take that marketing tool away and see how much more they care when it comes back, or finally do a USA versus international game. Kind of like the Writer/Presidential Cup. A 2025 game with an international team of Joker, Giannis, Luka, SGA, and Embiid with Victor Wembanyama as their sixth man against LeBron, Steph, KD, Kawhi, and Tatum with Chet as the sixth man would be fire. And you can't tell me otherwise. You know I'm right. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week, but not before we leave you with the viewer Hard Pass.
First of all, how in the hell is Mahomes Jordan? Jordan was 6 for 6. Mahomes has not gone undefeated in the championship or even in the AFC championship. So how is Mahomes Jordan? He's not even the GOAT. The GOAT's Brady. That's coming from somebody that's not even a Patriots fan. The GOAT's gonna be Brady. There's no way Mahomes is Jordan. Like, how in the hell is Mahomes Jordan? I mean, that makes sense. Just saying. If anybody's Jordan, it'd be Brady. He's thrown like across the United States of America and back like 5 times. Let's be realistic. Anyways, Mahomes is not Jordan.
Oh, and we have another one. Cool.
Yo, Jock, good morning, brother. Your favorite hard passer, Leon Morgan, a.k.a. Leon Morgan Acting on Instagram. I just want to give a hard pass to the whole idea of the sneaker authenticator. You and I both know that that is not a real thing, not a real skill. It's all fluff. There's no such thing as a sneaker authenticator. That's my hard pass. Have a good week, brother. Be safe, be well.
If you would like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us, 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.